welcome back to twelfth for the Avengers Reserve Podcast, episode 12. And I am, as always, delighted to be joined by Sad Boy Care. How are you doing today, Care?
I'm good. How are you? Very tired.
I'm very good, thank you.
Very good.
Yeah, I can imagine. There's been a lot of driving for you in the last few days. How has that been?
I never want to see another mountain in my life. Ever. I drove 30 miles up and down a mountain, and I cried the entire time. I was a mess. It was horrible. And then that was only like a 4-hour drive, and then I had a 6-hour drive the next day that started at 4 a.m. and then I got here at 11. So
Okay.
it was not ideal, but
Yeah, but it's good that you were able to split it up quite nicely.
yeah, I'm glad it was 4 days and not because my mom and I were talking about it. It would have been 10 hours starting at the mountains, and I would have been I couldn't have done it. Within the first 4 hours, I would have been dying. So I'm glad I split that trip up, especially. But the rest of them, probably I could have done them. But that one, I was so thankful.
Yeah, I can imagine. Oh, yeah. But it's good to be there. Obviously, you're in a new setup, a new surroundings, new moving day.
Yeah.
Exciting for you to start this new journey.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I start my orientation stuff on Friday, and then I think I start training on Monday. So, it should be good. But
yeah, sweet. Definitely. No, looking forward to hearing all the stories about it.
Yeah.
We're obviously going to talk about Loki finale. We were going to do Black Widow, but we were obviously spoken about it, and for one, it would just be a ginormous episode here.
Yeah.
And for the second fact that neither of us have seen
Yeah.
Black Widow yet.
Yeah.
So we're going to leave Black Widow until next week and talk about the Loki finale. And I think before we kind of touch on just the very specific episode, the series as a whole, what have been your thoughts on it?
It was amazing. And also, it set up everything so nicely. I don't think that there would have been a way that they could have done any of the other films without doing this first. The other two, I was they set some things up, but especially WandaVision didn't really set up a whole bunch of stuff. But Loki set up literally everything that's about to come next. So I'm super excited. It was so good. It was so good.
Yeah, I think the series as a whole, it's like we were just saying off camera, there was a lot of, it's not really a series that you can binge because you have to sort of pay a lot of attention to it. And there's a lot of sort of deep, interpersonal scenes. There's a lot of talking. You have to really pay attention to what is being said. But yeah, I think regardless of that, it's not your... I remember when we did Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and we said Falcon and the Winter Soldier is going to be your typical Marvel sort of series, not really series, but typical Marvel production where it's going to be action packed, and that's kind of what you expect with that. Loki is kind of flipped it, and it's a like we were saying, it's a lot more of a thinker, and has you kind of taking it back to that mystery route, which has always been really interesting. And I think it's been a great series. I'm very excited that they're obviously going straight into doing a season 2. I think that's
really
brilliant. I think it's
that.
deserved it. Yeah.
I'm so excited.
We're obviously going to touch on that a little bit, not really too much, but we'll touch on it a little bit. But yeah, fantastic. Okay, so we'll just kind of jump into the breakdown. Obviously, begins with this whole, I don't even know what to call it, but time and space travel going through all the different universes in the world.
Yeah.
Which I thought was very cool. I thought the whole Captain America and Peggy's soundtrack playing in the background whilst we went through everyone's voices was very cool.
Yeah.
Until we get to the two Lokis who are about to enter the house, where they encounter the Miss Minutes, who reveals that she's working for He Who Remains, and offers them some sort of deal. I thought that was brilliant. I was so glad that I've kind of gotten this prediction in a way that I knew there was something just a little bit sceptical about Miss Minutes. You can kind of see that coming.
The thing that I didn't really get about that was Hold on. Someone's weed whacking outside my window right now.
Oh, is it quite loud?
Yeah, it's very loud. I don't know if
Okay.
you can hear it or not.
I can't hear it, but
Okay.
it's fine.
I thought he was
Basically, I'll
talking.
finish my sentence, so.
Okay. But okay, yeah, so like the Miss Minutes thing, I don't really know because she was such a bad like actress when she was defending Ravona's lies, you know? Like she was so bad at like keeping the secret that like she was stalling. But like she's also been lying to Ravona the whole time. Like I don't know. Like obviously it's like an AI, like it's not like a real thing, but like I would think that the programming wouldn't allow it to like I guess it's probably programmed to keep that secret specifically and then not anyone else's. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of see what you're happening. I don't really know if Miss Minutes is kind of still around because if it's just
Yeah.
He Who Remains that controls it, or whether it's just an actual TVA thing that he's kind of created and it stays there. Yeah, a little bit unsure because we haven't seen any more of Miss Minutes.
Yeah.
But I think the deal that like gets offered to them never really seemed too appealing. They were kind of set on doing what they wanted to do.
Yeah. It was
which,
definitely like it was like a moral dilemma almost because it didn't seem like either option was like a good option. You know? Like there was no like definite thing that was like the right thing to do at that point.
Yeah.
Because like obviously keeping the timeline is like it'll keep from chaos, but it also like they said it like a million times, like it doesn't allow people to have free will because everything is dictated for them. So it's like it was a really like tricky one. Like I didn't know which one I would rather them do, you know? Like which path I would rather them take.
That is the one that I was kind of just a bit confused. I mean, the episode in general, because it's always about like them making a decision. I was like, I really don't know, like,
Yeah.
what decision really would be best. Like, what's in the best interest of everybody.
Yeah.
Which kind of they don't really decide to take either deal that gets offered to them by Miss Minutes, which is where they then meet He Who Remains, who's a very odd character. I can't quite think of the words. Quite eccentric, I suppose.
Definitely, yeah.
Showcases the power when sort of Sylvie and Loki try to attack him, and he kind of knows what's happening. I thought that was very, very cool. And yeah, it's obviously revealed a little bit later. We're kind of looking for confirmation, but it's obviously Kang, which I've been waiting this entire series for, and it was so good to finally see it happen.
We've both just been like, every single episode I think we've like name dropped Kang. We were like, where is he? When is he coming? So I was like, when I saw that, I was like, yep. I actually looked up who played Kang when I saw He Who Remained, and I was like, that's him. That's the guy.
Yeah. I mean, it was one of them that we were just kind of expecting the entire series, but it's good that it's like finally happened, and a few of the questions that have propped up over Loki pretty much been answered. But yeah, it's just he's a very weird. It's a very weird encounter when they meet Kang, because it's not that it's not the typical villain scenario that you would expect. He's very chilled out. He's very relaxed.
Yeah. Like, he was not anything like I thought he was going to be like at all.
Yeah. He's not very... He is obviously very showy-offy with his powers and the fact that he can just warp time a little bit. But he wasn't, very over the top, wasn't sort of attacking them in any way. He was very welcoming almost, which made for this episode to be, a little bit weird, a little bit difficult to kind of understand and gauge what Kang was really up to.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that, like, they did it really well, because you find out, like, his whole backstory, which I love his backstory. I think it's, like, so cool. And
Yeah.
like it's very obvious from our meeting of this version of Kang that he's
Mm-hmm.
not like the one that we have to worry about, you know? Because
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
obviously way worse that's coming, and it's like
Yeah.
actually confirmed at the end of the episode, but like there's way worse. And
Yeah.
I was not expecting it to be, I guess I just wasn't expecting it to be this version of him, you know? And I'm kind of glad that they did that because it throws you off guard a little bit. Like it gives you like a, wait a second, like what is going on here? Like this guy seems normal. He seems like a guy who's just been doing something for so long that he's exhausted and doesn't want to do it anymore. But like you kind of find out that like it's not that he's exhausted, it's that he doesn't want to have to write a whole different timeline now because his is about to end. Like,
Yeah.
it's just it's
Yeah.
crazy.
No, it was just, I have to agree, yeah, it was a very interesting experience seeing that, you know, he goes into his whole backstory and explaining that, like,
Yeah.
you know, quite nobly that he is not the worst of the Kangs that are around. Like, he's very seemingly one of the nicer guys.
Yeah.
And, you know, talks about how he was able to stop the sort of multiversal war. And yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see where the next series go, where Ant-Man 3 goes from here, and how they kind of include it all. I think they're really going to gear up Kang to be that Thanos type level villain in the MCU whenever there is a next Avengers, which I think at this rate is probably going to be Phase 5, because I don't think there's any immediate plans to stage anything like that. But yeah, I'm so excited for them to gear up Kang as that kind of villain.
Yeah, it's gonna be like, I think, I like don't know how they're gonna like do any of it, but I think it's gonna be like something that we just will not ever have thought of, you know? Like there's just gonna be like so many, I'm just like, I have a feeling that like it's gonna be like one Kang after another. Like one after another, and it's just like all of the bad versions of him are just gonna like keep attacking them, and they're gonna get like so sick of it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I can
I
see
like,
that.
I don't exactly know what's gonna happen, and I like that. Like I like that they set everything up really nicely, but at this point, it's literally chaos. Like we have no clue what's gonna happen, and I think it's like I think it's really cool.
Yeah, well, I think the whole fact as well that they're like were at war against each other beforehand, and now very obviously they're going to go to war against each other again. It's going to kind of weed out the weak from the strong, and that'll be very interesting to see who's kind of still around, which versions of Kang are still around, and who pops up where. I think you'll kind of see one pop up in, like we were saying, Ant-Man 3, and then probably as you were saying, sort of we'll see them. One by one sort of being taken over one at a time.
Yeah.
Be very interesting to see how it plays out with Kang. Obviously moving on, we get to see the scene with Mobius where he makes it back to the TVA, obviously in the last episode, where he goes through the portal, hatches a plan with Hunter B-15 to expose Ravonna. Honestly can't say that I really saw that happening. I didn't really know what Mobius was doing because it was a very minute section in last week's episode, so I wasn't sure what he was going to do.
Yeah, I don't even really remember like that part specifically. I just remember the part where they like lead them to the timeline where Ravonna was still a human.
Mm-hmm.
And like that was like the point where I was like, okay, they're gonna get everyone on their side. Like this is definite. Like, there's no way at this point that you can not have the entire TVA backing you. Because, like, their literal, like, figurehead, besides the timekeepers or whatever, like, she is the highest up besides the timekeepers. So there's, like, just the fact that they see that, like, she was a human, they're like, okay, something is up. And I liked that they kind of tied up that loose end a little bit and, like, didn't just leave it, whereas, like, the TVA just, like, didn't realize that they were humans who were just variants or just variants in general, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I liked that. I loved that part. And I loved the little, like, plan that they came up with. I thought that was, like, the literal only way that they could have done it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, definitely. It was very interesting to see them do that. And basically Ravonna gets what she had coming, I think is a way to word it. Basically, it leads to Ravonna and Mobius. Sorry, were you going to say something?
Oh, I was going to say something about the Ravonna and Mobius scene. There's one line in it that is kind of like a callback to the first episode. And I only realized it because I rewatched the first episode last night and I didn't catch it the first time, but there's a line in there when Mobius goes up to the bench and talks to Ravonna. He says, "I feel like I'm always looking up to you. And I like it," or whatever. And then when she knocks him down on the ground, he said, "Oh, I'm back here again." Like, it kind of just, like, called back to the fact that, like, he was still looking up to her, even though he didn't look up to her in the way that, like, he did as she was, like, his mentor. He was now just literally looking at her from the ground. And I just thought that was cool. I don't know.
No, yeah, that is interesting, because I didn't really understand what he was saying at the time when he was on the floor. I was a bit like, okay, it seems a bit of a weird sentence. So yeah, no, that makes a little bit more sense. They obviously have this whole sort of thing where, you know, Ravonna is a former hunter warrior. What are they called?
Yeah.
Is it hunter warrior?
I think it's just hunter.
So, you know, she's got the fighting skills to kind of deflect Mobius's attack and then knock him down.
Yeah.
And, you know, Ravonna refuses to prune Mobius, which I thought was quite nice, because you can still sense that they still have that kind of, like, love and friendship for each other. And it basically leads to Ravonna opening up her portal to, you know, go and search for free will, as she quotes. Which I think was probably the perfect way to kind of end that part of Ravonna in the series. Because, you know, we don't know where she's going to go, what she's going to do, and who she might encounter along the way. Especially now, with everything that happens on the later part of this episode.
I think that's definitely going to be, like, season 2 arc, you know? Trying to, like, figure out where she went and, like, what she's doing kind of thing. But,
definitely.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that we don't actually know where she went.
Moving on, obviously, to where Loki and Sylvie still continue in their chat with Kang, or He Who Remains. They're offered a new deal, which is basically to rule the TVA. It breaks out into this whole fight between Loki and Sylvie, with Kang just... This is what I mean about his character, just very calmly sitting there, being a spectator. But this whole fight scene just kind of causes a bit of tension between Loki and Sylvie. The two end up embracing and having their very first kiss, which I thought was very nice, until Sylvie sends Loki back to the TVA.
Okay, I was not expecting them to fight in the first place. Like, I was like, okay, they are on the same team. There's no way that, like, anything is going to happen between them. I was like, I have, like, in my notes, I was like, stop it right now. And then literally the next one was like, Sylvie, what the fuck? Like, what is happening? And I just, like, I don't know why she did it. I mean, I guess I know why. Like, she's still kind of, like, Loki's character obviously developed a lot more than Sylvie's did, because he was attempting to, like, help her on her journey, and then he started liking her, and then all that kind of stuff. But Sylvie was, like, always still just on her power trip journey, you know? Whereas, like, Loki got over that. So I think it makes sense that she still wanted to complete her, like, revenge or whatever. But I didn't expect it to be such a big, like, fight between the two of them. Like, I didn't really expect all of that, like, tension to just, like, happen. But I guess it makes sense because, like Loki said, she can't trust and he can't be trusted or whatever. But really, it's, like, the other way around. Like, he trusted her, but she can't be trusted. And he shouldn't have trusted her. So.
Yeah, 100%. That's the way that I kind of saw it. It's just that, like, I don't know. I don't really know what kind of happens to Sylvie from now on. As well, just because, as we kind of find out in a little bit that like Loki isn't where he thinks he should be, gets sent back to the TVA. But Sylvie kills He Who Remains, or Kang, and that's kind of shifted this whole. It's ruptured into the multiverse and created more branches. Where Loki ends up in a different universe, which is controlled by Kang, is basically where we come up to. It's a whole one massive mash of stuff that happens in probably like less than 5 minutes, I'd say. Probably far less than that. So it's a lot to really kind of take in.
It's kind of interesting to me because he got sent back. Never mind. I was going to say he got sent back before she killed him, but it didn't matter because everything was branching anyway. Never mind. I had to like think about it for a second. But like him getting sent back to like a universe where the TVA has never met him before was something that I was absolutely not expecting. I was like, what the hell is going on? Because there was always just one TVA. And I didn't realize that the TVA was on the timeline, if that makes sense. I thought that the TVA was just outside of the timeline, so it wouldn't have been affected by all of the stuff that's going on. But obviously I was wrong. It's on the timeline, and it is all fucked up. So that's great.
No, it's because that's what we've always been told, is that the time works differently in the TVA and things like that, and then it's completely different. There was the quantum realm theory as well. There's a lot of variables that have been kind of thrown about, but it's just there was a lot of stuff that kind of happened in this finale, like in the very sort of like closing segments of this episode as well. But I think it was just interesting. I mean, we knew that was going to be Sylvie's decision as well. Like, you just knew that was what she was going to do. She was very set on it. But it's that character development that we're going back to, where we're seeing the same thing in what we've seen of Loki over, the past, 12 years or something like that, I think. Is that, deep down they are, like, good people, and you see that development in that. They have a bit more of a like emotional vulnerability, I think is a perfect way to describe it. And like she very nearly went to being the Loki that we've all come to understand. So
she still has like a lot of character development to be done, I think.
That's what I was going to say. I think in season 2 you'll just see her character sort of like not completely shift, but is where you'll see her develop a substantial amount for sure. Absolutely.
I wonder if our Loki is going to show up in any of the films coming up to like warn them about what's coming or something like that, I don't know if it'll happen at all, but like that was the first thing that I was thinking of when he was like back at the TVA before he realized that Mobius didn't know who he was. So I was like, maybe he'll go back and like he'll try to warn them, but I think there is a possibility that we'll see Loki in sort of future Avengers films or just Marvel films. Just because of the way that this series has played out, that it's kind of opened up a whole load of possibilities, opened up the multiverse and things like that. There's an infinite amount of possibilities at this point, and it's stressing me out.
It's driving me crazy because, the film that we always mention is Doctor Strange 2, and everything just gets filled into that pile because it's like, this must happen in this film.
There's going to be so much in that film.
It's going to be a huge release, but I feel like we've just put so much into that film to happen that I just don't know how they're going to do it. It's going to be one giant mess, but I cannot wait.
Isn't the multiverse is also in Spider-Man, right?
Spider-Man, yeah.
So maybe some of that stuff will go to Spider-Man, and then they'll kind of like split it.
Some of it will, yeah. I just don't know if they'll keep it like strictly Spider-Man, so like Doc Ock and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man.
True.
I think we mentioned Venom is going to make an appearance in there as well, right? Not too sure.
I think so. When we watched the Venom 2 trailer, I think we talked about that.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, there's a hell of a lot of possibilities.
Yeah.
But yeah, season 2 is pretty much what we've kind of got to look forward to. Obviously, no release date and things like that. I suppose we'll just do a kind of like short reflection / preview of season 2.
Yeah.
What do you expect to happen? When do you kind of expect it to happen?
I'm thinking probably like, I'm hoping next year, probably like around the same time. But
Yeah.
I think they have to like make sure that all the films get out first. And then, because I'm assuming that it's going to kind of branch off of what happens in Multiverse of Madness. But then again,
That's
it could
what I was
just
thinking. Yeah.
happen a lot along the same time. Like it could just start up right where we left off. So I don't really know. I have no idea.
I was literally thinking that it would be a kind of like direct follow-up, direct sequel to Doctor Strange 2. Sequel isn't the right word, but direct follow-up from Doctor Strange 2, because you have all that happening, and then, a couple of weeks, then Loki comes out and it explains everything a little bit more and what's going on.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the way that you'll kind of see it. I just don't know. I just don't know how Loki's going to get out of that scenario. I'm very excited to obviously just have Owen Wilson like stay in the MCU, because I absolutely love him.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's just going to be a way that I don't know how they're going to do it, because I presume that all of them don't know again that they're all variants. So as in Mobius doesn't realise that he's a variant. He thinks that he's like working for the TVA. So do they have to go through that whole painful process of explaining it to them again? I just want to see Mobius on a jet ski.
Yeah. Oh my god. Ugh, that's going to be so annoying to have to like rediscover this thing, you know?
Yeah. I think it's going to feature Ravonna like searching for a free will, because she's obviously like escaped this whole scenario, right?
True. Well, not really.
I think there's going to be a way for her to kind of go to that like triple agent status that we talked about. So we're going to move on to ratings just before we kind of close off this episode. Been a very good episode, a very good finale. I feel like it's answered a lot of questions. Care, as always, I'm going to let you go first with your rating. What did you think of the episode in general? Tell me, how do you rate it?
I gave it a 20 out of 10.
Nice.
It was so good. It was so good. There was nothing wrong with it. It was just, and like the jaw drop moments, I was just like, yep, 150%. Like, it was amazing.
Okay. Interesting. I would give it an 8. I think.
Stop
because I think the only thing is that, like we were saying, is that it's become that kind of you need to pay a lot of attention sort of thing. There was a lot of just sit down talking scenes, which don't get me wrong, like I appreciated it and everything, and I think the episode closed off great. I'm not saying it's a bad episode. I think 8 is still a very good rating. I just feel like there was a couple of things that could have been improved on per se. But look, they're bringing out another season. They didn't need to add anything in there. So I think it's, giving it a fair bit of leeway. But yeah, still very much enjoyed it. Very looking forward to the next season. I was so pissed that there wasn't a post-credit scene. I think that brings it down the point.
That's
the
true.
only mid-credit scene was just to say that season 2 is coming.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me that they wouldn't, because at that point, if they do anything, oh no, never mind. They could have done like Multiverse of Madness, but I think that they kind of wanted to make sure that people who haven't watched the series and still want to go see Doctor Strange, like, still know what's going on.
Yeah.
So I feel like they might explain it away in Doctor Strange in a different way, or maybe even in Spider-Man. Like, they might explain it in a different way because they don't know what actually happened. They just know that, like, all of this stuff is now, like, connected to them, you know? So, like, I feel like it's gonna move smoothly, like, between the films, and there might be a few callbacks to, like, each series, but I don't think that it's gonna be like, you have to watch the series to watch the films, because I think they know that, like, most people will watch the series, but there are some people who aren't going to watch the series, if that makes sense. So that's why I think it kind of makes sense to me that they wouldn't put any kind of end credit scene, just so everyone's on the same page when they go into the film, you know? I don't know. That's just my thought process behind it. But
I think the interesting thing about it is that, like, none of these recent series haven't really, like, shown any kind of glimpse into Doctor Strange 2. Like, you could maybe go about the WandaVision one, but there's nothing crystal clear. It's not featuring Doctor Strange himself or anything like that. Nothing for the upcoming Spider-Man movie. So I like that. I like that they've just kept it a mystery, even though we're expecting, obviously, a big gear up towards that movie. So yeah, no, I think it does make a bit of sense that they haven't done a post-credit scene. And you know, I think regardless, people are looking forward to whatever Marvel production is next. I believe now that Black Widow is out, it's What If, which is only essentially a few weeks away, really. Am I right if saying that? Comes out in August, right?
Yeah, I think it's like early August.
Yeah.
The fucking leaf blower is so loud. It's so loud.
What was that?
It's the landscapers outside. It's so fucking loud.
Oh my god.
They're like right outside my window, and I'm on the second floor. So it's like literally right outside my window.
Okay, all we got to do is close it off.
Okay.
So let me know when.
There's gonna be a lot of editing in this one, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I'll try to cut down the audio where like we're not speaking and you can hear the like stuff, but
Okay.
oh god. Yeah. Okay. We should be good now, they're farther away.
Okay, sweet. Okay, so that concludes this week's episode. Thank you very much for watching or listening, whether you're watching obviously on Facebook, YouTube, or listening on Spotify. Greatly appreciate the support. Be sure to check out the links in the description. You can find Kare's channel on Twitter, also be an annotation on the screen. We'll be back here next week when we'll be reacting, I suppose, to Black Widow. So be sure to tune into that, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.